What's going on, Canes fans? Welcome to another edition of the Croot on the U, brought to you by the Scoop on the U. I've got my co-host with me, Luke Cheney. Luke, how you doing today, brother?
Doing well. Can't complain as always. How are you doing, man?
Doing great, man. We get to kick off the show here tonight with a fantastic 2024 wide receiver from Palmetto High School, Zymarian Lang. This is a high upside wide receiver, guys. I truly enjoyed watching his film. What's up, Zymarian?
What's up, man? What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for joining us again, bro. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all.
Well, man, the way I like to jump into things here is what's your current height and weight?
I'm about 6'2". I'm 170.
Okay. Have you had any speed times done lately, like 40-yard dash or anything like that?
Nah, not recent. But
Okay.
last one I ran 4'3",
Okay. Yeah.
4'3",
That's real nice. Real nice. So what are some of the off-season workouts you did, that helped you out this last season, the season that we just finished right now? What were some of those off-season workouts you did before this season started where you really felt it took your game to a higher level?
What happened?
Did we lose you for a second?
Yeah, I think so. You can hear me?
Yeah. Did you want me to ask the question again?
Yes, sir. My bad.
No problem. No problem at all, man. What were some of the off-season workouts that you feel helped you this last season? Was there anything that you did in the off-season before this last season started that really put your game to another level?
Yes, sir, for sure. I was working out throughout the season with my trainer, Adrian McPherson. We were working out throughout the season. So, yeah, all the work we was doing was paying off throughout every game throughout the season. So, everything was showing at the end of the season. Yeah.
So I want to make sure I heard you right, man. So you said your 40 time was what again?
A 4-3-1. That
Damn.
was my last one.
I
Ran
mean, that's
that
obviously very, very fast. I guess how are you able to use that speed to your advantage?
uh, I just run past people, really. You don't use your hands, I'm gonna get right past you. And then
Do
when
you
you
like when
do,
defenders
and then when you do press me, it is what it is. I'm gonna get right past you, regardless.
do you prefer when defenders press you or playing off coverage?
Uh, I like when defender press me. It really don't matter to me, for real.
Mhm.
But I like to press, really.
Got you. And then I mean, what are some of the things about your game that you think you do really well right now? Like, what would you consider some of your strengths?
I know how to track the ball in the air. Very good.
How did this season go for you and your team?
Uh, I say we started off slow. In like the middle of the season, we had to get a couple changes. We got a couple changes. Put my brother at running back. And then that opened up the throwing game, so it brought in more. We got more passes in. And then we went on a run. And then we lost the first round of playoffs against Lehigh. But it was a tough one. But yeah,
Who'd you
that's
guys
all right.
play in the first round?
We played Lehigh.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah. What kind of stats did you put up this season?
Uh, to be real, I ain't really look at him yet. To be real, because officer coordinator, he had
Hmm.
left, so he ain't really give us our stats yet. So
I understand.
that's why I ain't putting them out yet.
Oh, I totally understand, man. So then we'll go to a different question here. Who's your guys' rival school? Who's the biggest rival?
Round 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 in Memphis County, our rival school, Memphis High.
What was it like last time y'all played them?
We beat them. My couple last 2 years we beat them.
So obviously, I mean, it's a big time junior season for you. What were some of the biggest things or the most important lessons that you learned throughout your season?
Never give up.
Mhm. Got you. And then, I asked you earlier about, some of your strengths, some of the things they do really well. What are some of the areas that you think you don't do as well right now and that you want to continue improving on moving forward?
Uh, I really, I gotta focus on my blocking for sure, and and fin- wait, yeah, blocking and finishing more. Gotta finish more. That's mainly it.
Are you going to be doing 7-on-7 this offseason?
Oh yes, sir, for sure.
How has 7-on-7 helped you when it's time for you to get back into pads?
It'll help me basically. It'll help me a lot with my route running. It helped me with my route running and my releasing more. And yeah, helped me a lot. And reading more coverages. Helped me with my coverages. Reading
Do you
deep.
play other sports?
Uh, I stopped playing basketball. I really focused on football my last sophomore and junior year. But I'm gonna run track this year again. I'm gonna run track this year.
Okay, okay.
Then my
And
senior year, I'm just gonna hoop again.
oh, you're going to get back into hooping?
Yeah, my senior
Okay,
year.
that's good, man. That's good. I know those things can definitely help you on the football field, especially track and hoop. You know, those both can help you. So I'm glad to hear you're getting involved with that stuff, man.
Yes, sir.
What position do you play in basketball? Out of curiosity.
Everything to be real. I'm an
Mhm.
athlete, so I could do a lot. You know,
Yeah, got you. And then, how does playing basketball, how does doing track, how does that help you on the football field?
condition, really condition.
Got you. And then, preparation for this interview, I saw your offer sheet. A lot of big time schools: A&M, Tennessee, Louisville, Arkansas State, Duke. I just saw you got one from Miami. What does it mean to you to have all these, big time schools offering you and showing interest in you?
Um, I say it's great. I deserve it. I put the work in, but
Mhm.
like I ain't finished yet. You feel me? I
Got
ain't
you.
finished. I ain't done.
And then I also want to ask, like, more specifically about Miami, just because it was so recent. How did that offer come about?
Uh, I get coach. Oh, I forgot. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't really know how to pronounce his name.
Hmm.
It started with a G. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But he had called. He called me. He was like, he watched my film. And he liked my film. He liked how the way I track the ball, how the way I like run and all types of things. He liked it. And then he just offered me really.
Hmm. And then, what are some of the things that are like, what are some of your, I guess, initial thoughts about Miami as a program? What do you know about the Hurricanes?
It's a lot of speed that way. It's a lot of speed that way. I know that for sure. And then
What?
Florida
Oh, go
school.
ahead.
Then it's a Florida school. That was my first Florida school. So yeah,
Oh, that was the first school in Florida to give you an offer.
yes sir.
Okay, right on, man. Well, I like to hear that. I like to hear that we're up front there. So what traits make a great wide receiver or a dominant wide receiver? What do you feel? You know, physical and mental.
You gotta be aggressive. You gotta be aggressive, and you can't think a lot. You can't think. You just gotta do you.
You got to trust in your abilities, right?
Yes sir.
What gets you the most excited on game day? You know, is it the pregame hype? Is it busting out a big long touchdown? You know, what gets
Man,
you?
what get me hyped really when the defense go out first and get a three and out.
Got you, man. And also, I mean, I mentioned Miami a little bit. What are some of the other schools that are showing you a lot of love right now?
South Carolina,
Mhm.
um, USF, um, um, there's a couple schools. Shit.
Got you. And then, who are, I guess, who are some of the coaches that from, I mean, any school, that you've been able to, I guess, build pretty good relationships with so far?
I built a good relationship with Coach Gray from the University of South Carolina.
Okay,
Uh,
got
DB
you.
coach.
Got you. And then I also want to ask, like, it could be college receivers, pro receivers, retired, doesn't matter. Who are the guys that you like to watch on Saturdays and Sundays and take things from their game and really add it into yours?
Uh, NFL, I watch Jamar Chase
Mhm.
and Jefferson, and then like um, I really I love Pickens for real. I really love Pickens. That's who I really watch for real, Pickens, because I love Georgia. And yeah, that's really.
What What about George Pickens? What do you like about him?
I like how he aggressive. He aggressive. He know how to use his body.
Do you got any pregame traditions or just like anything you like to do as far as listening to certain music or whatever and getting in the zone? What do you like to do before a game starts?
I'll probably take a little nap. Probably a little nap. Listen to
Chill
music,
out.
take a little nap, rest my legs out, and then wake up and stretch, and then get my get right.
So, talking here, game week film study right now versus the DBs that you're going to be going against. When you're first starting to watch film that week against your opponent, what are some of the things you're trying to identify early in the DBs that are going to be guarding you?
Are they aggressive? I want to see if are the DB aggressive. When you find out if the DB aggressive, you gonna know what type of game it's gonna be and what you gotta do to get past the defender.
It's still a long way away. I know junior season just ended, but do you have any goals in mind for your senior year?
Yeah, I want to be the best in the nation senior year, and I want to win state. I want to go to states.
Got you for sure, man. And then I only have one more question for you. It's very random, very out of the box question, but game day playlist. Who are you listening to? Who's on it?
FCG him
Mhm.
never satisfied.
Got you. Sounds good, man.
So
Yeah, I just got a couple more questions for you, bro. Just kind of curious, what's next for you? What do you got coming up next in regards to football?
track.
Just gonna be focusing on the speed aspect.
Yeah, I'm still working out to the day I had training this day. I'm gonna have training all till spring. Till spring.
Tell you you're gonna stay busy.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and let the folks here watching us know some of your social media accounts. Go ahead and plug them.
You can add me on Twitter at Nuke1K1, and you can add me on Instagram at LilNuke.7, and that's the same thing for my Snapchat and the other things, everything else.
Okay, cool.
LilNuke.7.
Well, man, I got one last question for you, Zymarian, and it's a question that I ask every single recruit and every guest that we bring onto this show.
Yes, sir.
Why do you love the game of football? Where do you get that passion to go out there and dominate?
Well, I just love it, man. I love it because just everybody in my family. That's what we played. That's all we did in the yard when we growing up. And I knew I had a feeling I was gonna be the one to be the one to do it because I always been a fast, legit around the neighborhood. So yeah, I knew I was gonna be one to play football and be serious and take it far. I should.
Well, man, I've had a chance to watch your film a couple times, and I'm truly impressed, man. I think you got some major upside. I think they're sleeping on you a little bit here, bro, but you're
Yeah,
getting ready to
most
wake them
stuff.
up. You're about to wake them up.
Yeah, I'm gonna wake him up for sure.
I have no doubt about that, bro. With what I saw in your film, you're about to wake him up for sure, man. Well, dude, Luke, did you have anything else here for our great guest?
I appreciate all y'all, and I'll see y'all soon.
For sure, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Thanks for
yeah.
joining the show, man.
Really
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
All right, guys. That was 2024 wide receiver Zymarion. Oh gosh, why did I drop his paper already, dude? Dude, I just totally drew a blank. I just totally drew a blank because I had the other notes in front of me. Sorry, Marion Lang. I had his nickname written down instead, dude. I didn't want to say it without his last name.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
awkward as hell. Just Zymarion, and then nothing. So, man, dude, what's your take on him, bro? You know, just between me and you getting a chance to break his film down.
Yeah,
Break.
man. He is someone that, I mean, like you guys heard his 40 time. A 4.31 is beyond elite. Like that is some top tier stuff right there. I mean, he has that top end speed. He has a speed to, like I said, take the top off of defense. Um, you know, I really like how he attacks the ball at the high points. Very aggressive receiver, someone who I think will develop a lot as a run blocker, especially when he advances to that college level. And I mean, given his size, 6'2", only 170, has a ton of room to fill out. I think his upside is very, very high. What do you think?
Yeah. Like I was letting him know, I feel he's very slept on, and I also to add to just his height and his athleticism, I think his length also plays a really good role too. Because I mean, he can just go up and snatch passes where cornerbacks, if you're a 5'10" cornerback and he's high pointing the ball, 5'10" quarterback isn't going to get to it. So I can see why they use him a lot in that aspect, but he's also capable of taking it to the house for yards after the catch too,
Yeah.
on shorter passes too, man. I mean, on quick slants and stuff like that. He's got great vision after he catches passes too. So I mean, this is it's a wide receiver who understands the nuances of the game. Like, some guys are just natural position players, like they naturally belong. Samson Okunlola naturally is an offensive tackle, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel about Zymarion. He is a natural wide receiver. He has those kind of traits.
Yeah, and I mean, look at I think it's 247 composite rating, and I think it's a 3-star. Don't know his exact rating, but with that, you have to look at his offers, right? Only just, I mean, obviously still a junior, just coming off a very strong junior season. Offers from, like I mentioned earlier, Miami, Louisville, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, South Carolina. He has an abundance of really, really, really good college football programs offering him. And that says something. I mentioned, very high ceiling player and someone that I think will wake a lot of people up as time moves on, and especially leading into a senior season next year.
Yeah, I have no doubt about it, honestly. With his work ethic and with his natural traits combined with the people who he's surrounded himself with, he's got good coaches and good trainers and all that stuff. I mean, I watched the tape. I watched the progression. I like to go back and watch freshman, sophomore, and see what they're doing, and see the jump. And you start to really see that junior year jump to what you're going to really see that senior season, because those two right there are just so big rogue, because you've seen it before where a sophomore gets a ton of hype, never develops, and then you just don't hear from him ever again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about keeping it going towards those ends of the season there. So, exactly. Dude, we spoke beforehand, and there were some players that we wanted to touch on here. Speak a little bit about, I know the two additions that we had brought in, the transfers we brought in, were some guys we wanted to touch on there. Let's start with Branson Dean. How about that? The defensive lineman from Purdue. What's your take on him?
Yeah, so he comes in around 6'2", I think 280. And he follows a trend that I've noticed with, this transfer portal haul, which I'm sure will expand as time moves on. But Miami is opting more for guys or linemen who can get to the quarterback. They're not really looking so much for those space eaters like they had with a Darrell Jackson. And it's not to throw shit at Darrell Jackson. I think he's a fantastic player, and he's going to do amazing things in Tallahassee, and I wish him the best of luck. But
space eaters are important too.
Exactly. But, with a Thomas Gore, now with the Branson Dean, you have two players, Gore being 6 flat, I believe, and Dean being 6'2", not the biggest of linemen, but at the same time, these are guys who are very technical, who have been around the block at the college level for a long time now, and who have the athleticism and the proven production before to get to the quarterback. And Dean last year did just that. I have the stats pulled up here. He had 28 tackles, 4 of which were for loss, and 2.5 sacks. And he graded out as one of the best defensive linemen in the Big Ten, was an all Big Ten honorable mention player, was a very, very good player for a Purdue team that made the Big Ten championship game. So, with that, I think that Miami is getting a very, very talented and well-established player to add to their D-line rotation, a rotation that, even with the subtraction of a Darrell Jackson, still very deep. And I think that, with the addition of Dean and with the addition of Gore, kind of making up for that loss, I guess, pass rush production that you also had with an Antonio Moultrie in that rotation. So I am a big fan of Branson Dean. I think that he will, add a lot to that room. And I think that it just continues this trend that I mentioned earlier of Miami focusing on defensive linemen who could get to the quarterback and just continue to improve what should be a very solid pass rush next season.
I want to get to the next edition, but I want to introduce our guest that's jumping on right now to help us talk about a little more Canes football. We have got ourselves here Braylon Trujillo, founder of the Be True QB Training and Advanced QB Camp. What's up, Braylon? How you doing, bro?
Doing pretty well. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing great, man. Thanks for taking the time to jump on and talk a little Canes football with us.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Anytime we can talk about the Canes, I'm all about that. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, we were just finishing up here talking about the 2 additions that we got. I was going to be asking my co-host here, Luke, what he thinks about the center we got from UCF, Matt Lee. Luke, what do you feel about him, man? I feel like we got a guy who could possibly be a starter for us right away.
Oh yeah, I think he's coming in instant starter. Just given that he left a very good situation at UCF. He was, without a doubt, objectively one of the best centers in the country last season. I think per Pro Football Focus, he was the 3rd highest graded center in all of FBS last year. He had like a 90 pass grade, 80 run grade, which ranked ahead of last season's starter at Miami being Ja'Kai Clark. So I expect Lee to step in, start right away. And, with that, I think that we're going to expect Clark to now be on the second team. I think that is great for competition because I think he's pretty solid in himself. I thought he was probably the 2nd best offensive lineman throughout the season for Miami. So given that you're adding even more competition to that center room, I think it bodes well for the offensive line, and it should be a much improved unit next season.
Braylon, man, I wanted to ask you, are you familiar with the current Miami quarterback commit, Emory Williams?
Yeah, I am very familiar.
Could you give us a little insight, what do you see his strengths are and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, his strengths definitely his arm talent. When you watch him throw, that ball jumps off his hand pretty well. His mechanics are pretty fluid. It almost looks similar to Jake Garcia in a way, but that ball really just pops off his hand. And the one thing that separates him from most of the guys that we even have on the roster right now is he can run. The ability to run and extend plays. I know we see that with Jake Garcia a little bit, but he really hasn't been the same since his injury. And we all know Tyler Van Dyke is just a walking stick, so he's not going to move pretty much at all, if anything. So this kid can actually extend plays with his feet, make accurate throws on the run. And I did talk to Coach Ponce about him one time. Coach Ponce literally called me on the way to go see him before he offered him and asked my opinion about this guy. And I pretty much only told him the only thing I really, got to see of him was, last year's tape. And because I've never seen him live in person until recent. But that kid is all of advertised. And he called me right after he got done watching him throw and was like, this kid can make every throw. And he's like, I'm going to offer this kid. And he really impressed Ponce when he went to practice to watch him. And he's like, look, this guy's an NFL ready arm already. And he's only in high school. And so that really, jumped off the page for me. And then obviously studying him a little bit, watching him in Elite 11, he definitely he was one of the best players there. If anything, I'm gonna be honest with you, he was more impressive than Jaden Rashada in my opinion in the Elite 11. So and I know that got a little bit of headlines there for Canes fans that came out. I think it broke the news a little bit that this guy was very impressive, and that Jaden Rashada probably struggled a little bit while he was at the Elite 11, but that's really good signs for Miami fans, and I think that we got a home run hitter in Emory Jones Emory Williams, and the kid's special.
Oftentimes people are looking at quarterbacks who are just gunning it as far as they can, right straight down the middle of the field, and determining that as their arm strength. That's not what I usually look at for arm strength. What I'm looking for often is where the quarterback is positioned behind the line of scrimmage and where he can place the ball along the sidelines. And some of those throws I saw from Emory, like you said, those are NFL type of throws. Not every high school kid can make those throws on the sideline like he can. And I think it's something that's been not talked about as much, honestly. It hasn't been something that I think it needs more attention, honestly. It really does. I mean, to have a live arm like that, as well as anybody, to have a live arm like that, any quarterback coach, any trainer, they want to work with those kind of kids.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I as a quarterback trainer myself, I totally agree with you. And that's exactly how I predict or judge or evaluate arm strength is if you can be on the opposite hash throwing a comeback route or deep out route on the other side of the sideline. Like if you can make those throws look easy, that's what's more impressive. So and he's doing that. And so I think we actually got a better deal with him than Jaden Rashada, in my opinion. I think Rashada is very gun heavy, and he knows he's got the talent to throw the ball all across the field. And sometimes he makes a lot of mistakes. Emory had better stats, and honestly, in my opinion, somewhat better competition. So, I just feel like Jaden Rashada has a lot of height, and no disrespect to him and his talent. He's a phenomenal athlete. I'd love to still him be a Cane, but at the end of the day, we didn't lose a beat without Emory signing with the Miami Hurricanes. So I'm really excited about that. I know he's going to compete, and he's going to give that quarterback room, a little bit something to push. And so I'm excited about it. And that kid will be starting for Miami in the next couple of years for sure.
Well, I wanted to ask Luke here. We just got a chance here now with Balin to talk about a quarterback that's on our roster. I wanted to talk to you, Luke, about a quarterback who's a recruit of ours that we spoke about briefly before the show, Prentice Air Noland.
Yes.
What's your take on Prentice? I mean, I see a quarterback with some pretty special upside. He's raw in some. He's raw. He's definitely raw in some areas.
Yeah.
But I see a guy who's definitely a P5 quarterback. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think I watched him this film before we started filming today, and I mean, he is a guy that I think could really excel in an RPO spread type offense. I mean, that was kind of the base of what he did much of last season, and in Georgia 6A, I think is read statistically 55 touchdowns, 5 picks, crazy numbers, absurd numbers. And I mean, just watching some of his film, some of the things that stands out: deep field ball placement, really nice arm, really good touch. Obviously, technically there are a few things that he really needs to clean up, but given that he's only entering, or he will be entering, his senior season of high school next year, he still has plenty of time for that. He is someone that doesn't, necessarily have Justin Fields or Lamar Jackson-like athleticism, but he is someone that can extend plays with his legs, pick up a few yards on big downs. Like I said, with his legs on the ground, he can, be creative in that regard. And he's someone that I am personally a big fan of. I am a big fan of left-handed quarterbacks because I consider myself a Tua Tagovailoa stan as a Dolphins fan. So, given that Aaron Noland is, hey, there we go. And, given that Aaron Noland is the lefty, I guess that's just a personal preference thing through watching Tua. But I think he's a very high ceiling quarterback. Stands in, I think, at like 6'3", 185. So he has good physical traits. Still a lot of room to fill out, but he is still so young. But I do think he has potential to be a very, very good Power 5 quarterback.
Definitely. Balin, are you familiar with Prentice?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What have you been able to see from him?
Yeah, I think I agree with everything Luke just said. I do think that he needs to clean up some things mechanically. I think he does a lot of things off platform and inside the pocket where he's throwing from different arm angles, and that's not really something you want to really bank on when it comes to the next level. But he's able to get away with it now because he's in high school and he's just that much better than everybody on the field. But he does have some developmental things that he needs to work on, but he does have the arm strength. He can do things with his feet. He's got great size. I think that his body type is going to be able to either put on weight or, be at the weight that they want him to be at. So that's going to be a really big factor when it comes to being a Power 5 quarterback. Do I think there's other people out there that are better? Yeah, sure. But do I think that he could become one of the best quarterbacks in this class? Then yeah, of course, too, as well. So it all just depends on how he develops over the next 365 days and see where he's at. But, I'm really excited about him and to see where he's going because his ceiling is very high. So, and he's definitely a talented player.
We've got a Canes commit in the chat right now. Jackson Carver, we see you, brother. What's up, man? Love having you at the U, dude. Love having you at tight end. Great, always great to see Jackson in the chat. He pops in every once in a while to show some love. So, Balin, actually, there's a question I wanted to ask you about another quarterback that's actually on the roster. And I want to ask you, Luke, following Balin's answer here, I'll ask you the same question. We got a chance to see from him just a little bit, and we saw how absolutely, raw he was, but we saw what he could do with his legs. Balin, what does Ja'Cory Brown need to do to get his arm strength? It's not arm strength, but more accuracy, I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely do not think arm strength is his issue. Yeah. The problem is he has too much arm strength, and he doesn't know how to control it. And we saw he's probably one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks I've seen in a long time at the Power 5 level. It's just I just remember I can go back to spring, and I remember going to the spring game, and his first pass was a hitch, and I'll never forget he just sailed it. It was literally just a hitch rock, turned and threw it, and it just sailed on him. And I'm like, man, there's just no control over this ball right now. So, and we saw that. He showed glimpses against Georgia Tech that he can get it done, and then the very next game, it looked like he never played the position at all, and Florida State, he was up and down, kind of thrown in the fire after Jay Garcia's pick. But I think Ja'Cory Brown, in my opinion, he is an athlete playing quarterback. He's those things that you have to develop or at a younger age, in my opinion. I believe that he should have been working on his mechanics. He's been working on his timing, been working on his touch, and hopefully developed throughout high school before he got to Miami. Now the fact that he's at Miami, I think that the best case scenario for Ja'Cory Brown is to play him in a spotted role where he can play receiver, he can come in at Wildcat, do different things like that. Kind of what we did before he became the actual starter for the Georgia Tech game. But to be honest with you, man, especially with Emory coming in and what we have, hopefully slated for the future and what we have now with Jake Garcia, I honestly don't ever think Ja'Cory Brown will be the guy at Miami. That's just my opinion. If anybody's going to hit the portal, it's probably going to be him if he's not satisfied with that. But at the end of the day, I just think that that development piece of touch and working on accuracy starts very young. And if he's having those issues right now, it's going to be hard to really focus in on that unless they know he is the guy, which we both know, or all of us know he's not. Tyler Van Dyke's going to become the starter from day one, and then Jake Garcia is going to be the backup. If Emory comes in and starts competing, you never know how that's going to turn out. So I just think that for Ja'Cory's sake, if you're really going to work on the touch and accuracy and stuff, that's just stuff he's going to have to work a lot on outside of just being at practice. But I just know as a quarterback trainer, that's one of the hardest things to teach and develop, especially at a rate like he is already. He's already at Miami. So, it's going to take – he's just a freakish athlete. I'm saying, I don't think that it would hurt to even put him in a position like being a receiver and helping us maybe even, throwing some wildcat packages in that he can throw the ball downfield vertically, which he's good at. But other than, just scanning a defense and doing check down stuff, I just don't think that's Ja'Cory's game. And he's just a freak athlete. So he's an athlete playing quarterback rather than a quarterback who's an athlete, and that's just my opinion. Great kid, though. Great. I'm glad we have him, so.
Yeah. And is it a lot of it just come down to his mechanics not being consistent? Or
no, I think honestly he's got a fluid motion. If you watch his release, it is very smooth. It reminds me a little bit of like a Teddy Bridgewater, even a Ja'Cory Harris. It's got like a whip action, and it's got what it needs is just there's no control. If you watch his lower body, sometimes his arms releasing before his hips go through, and sometimes again he's in the pocket, he's stepping to the left when he's trying to throw to the right. Like it doesn't look mechanically sound, and as a quarterback would look like. Even people would even say that Lamar Jackson's kind of like that. No, actually, Lamar Jackson's gotten a lot better in his tools. He's actually developing into a true quarterback. He's just a freak nature. But Ja'Cory Brown isn't Lamar Jackson. Let's just cut it to the chase. So, Ja'Cory again has to have a lot of developmental issues, and I think that again that happens, at a younger rate to where you develop and feel more comfortable in the pocket, to where you're actually getting back to base when you're going through your progressions. I just think that Ja'Cory Brown doesn't register that fast. Even if it does, it's just his body sometimes just doesn't look in sync, which is why he's not accurate with the football. But I'm telling you, he's got one of the most prettiest mechanics when you just look at his arm release. Like, it does look very smooth. And but again, it's so much more than just having a great over the top, elbow lead or whatever the case may be with your arm. It has everything to do with the lower body. And so if you don't have that in sync and you're not in base and you're just throwing to guess where the guys are going to be at or guess where that football is going to be, you're not going to be as successful at that position.
Do you think he would benefit by taking this next season off? And basically, I mean, not like saying like he's away from the team.
Red shirt. Yeah.
Basically like a red shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's going to happen regardless. I mean, he's going to probably spot play 4 games. They're not going to burn it like they did last year. I think he's going to have the opportunity to sit and really, learn. But I'm just going to be cut dry. I mean, when Emory's coming in and what we're going to do in the future and probably get a transfer portal guy, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Ja'Cory Brown is going to be our guy. I don't ever think. I mean, he does fit kind of the mold in what Gaddis is trying to do with the RPO, which we know Tyler Van Dyke is terrible at, and we know that Jake Garcia has success, but he's not as explosive as he once was, to be honest with you. But with Emory Williams, he does fit that mold. He can run the RPO. Ja'Cory Brown is the perfect example to run it, but again, he's not a quarterback. He's an athlete playing quarterback. So that's going to be tough. But I mean, of course, a whole year of development, he's going to look somewhat different. But again, you still have to feel comfortable behind live bullets. And the only way to get live bullets is experience. You can go through practice all the time, but to be honest with you, practice is the most comfortable anybody's going to ever be in. So those guys are going to see the same guys every single day, do scout team every single day. There's going to be comfortability. He's going to be able to do things in practice that wows you, right? But when you go against another team week in and week out and have that live game experience in front of, 50, 60, 70,000 fans in big time, environments, can he be polished? Can he sit in the pocket? Can he be in base? Can he just be calm and collected in the pocket like a true quarterback? I don't think he can, even with a year of development. I think he can get better for sure. Reading wise, schematic wise, understanding the offense. But at the end of the day, with what we have now and what's coming, I don't see Ja'Cory Brown being that guy.
Luke, like I was telling you, man, same question. Just your take on Ja'Cory.
Yeah, so, I mean, with Ja'Cory, I think Balin nailed pretty much all of it, right? I mean, he is someone that is a freak athlete, given his size. I mean, he stands in at what, like 6'5"?
Yeah.
Say around 6'4", 6'5". His contact balance is insane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just in the way, just in the way he runs the ball. It never seems to get stood up. Right. I mean, it's so hard to bring down.
Good vision when he runs. Great
vision. I mean, an absolute cannon of an arm. I mean, we've seen him overthrow some really deep passes. It's just he is overthrowing those passes. He's not accurate.
Yeah. Right.
He isn't. Lacking touch, lacking consistency. I was impressed with him, simply the fact that he actually did play in his freshman season and he actually did look decent against Georgia Tech. I mean, just watching him in the spring when he first arrived in Miami, he was unbelievably erratic. You would see those glimpses every now and then, but for the most part, I don't want to say for the most part, but you would just see those inconsistencies really flash more often than you would like, just missing those basic throws that, most college level quarterbacks should be making. And, could he become a guy in Miami? I'm not sure. A ton of development needs to be made from him, just from a mechanical standpoint, as you mentioned. And Balin, I also want to ask you, just because I feel like a quarterback that he more so compares to, I guess a high upside comparison would be someone like an Anthony Richardson, someone who, is very, very raw.
I'll give you one better. Joe Milton.
Yeah. I mean, because he struggled a lot at Michigan, and I mean now playing in a system at Tennessee where it's like, they might have something there. I mean, and just asking you, could you see Jakari Brown year 3, year 4 hitting his stride? Kind of putting everything together. Like, do you think that could be in the cards for him? And what would you need to see happen specifically for that to, I guess, all mesh?
Yeah, I believe that it can happen, and it probably won't be as a hurricane.
Okay.
If that's honestly what he wants to do, I'm gonna be honest with you. Again, where we are now, where we head in the future, he's gonna be just a solid backup, a guy that we can rely on. If let's say worst case scenario, what happened this year, Tyler goes down, Jake's not performing, then he gets hurt, and then we just throw Jakari around just to see what happens, and then boom, he beats Georgia Tech, starts the next game, and then gets benched after the second series because he just can't get it done. So, I mean, we just, like I said, 3 or 4 years from now, he has a redshirt year. Now he has another, 3 years to play. Then now we're talking about him competing with Jake Garcia once Tyler leaves this year, and then Jake Garcia beats him out. Now he's sitting as a whole, as a sophomore, redshirt sophomore is, 2 years from now. And then now he's going to his redshirt junior year. Jake Garcia announced he's coming back because he's not NFL ready. And then now he sits again. And now his senior year, guess who's right behind him? Emory Williams, and then whoever else comes, whether it's a transfer portal guy or, we get another big-time recruit that comes in since we get a new offensive coordinator. Yes, I did say that. I hope that we do as soon as possible. But, I just think, again, if Jakari Brown wants to be if he really truly wants to be a quarterback, it's time to hit the portal probably after this year, getting a whole year of development under Coach Ponce if they decide to keep him or whoever's the quarterback coach. Develop, get the red shirt, don't lose that, and then maybe go into the portal and see what your options are, because I just think the way that, Jake Garcia is probably going to have another full year of development, which he's already polished. And then you have Emory Williams coming in, who's, a freak of nature. And I think that if he gets coached really well, he has a shot of competing. So I just think Jakari Brown's, just because of his skill set, will start to fall down the line unless he's willing to take a role like the receiver position or wildcat position, which he had a lot of success in this past year, even as a true freshman. So I just think that's where his current status is headed in the next 3 or 4 years. But if he wants to develop, it'd be best to hit the portal and then go to maybe like an FCS school, like, Jackson State, like we saw in Shakur, Sanders or whatever, and dominate in that level. And I think that's what he's going to be like. And I think that's even a good comparison too. And I know Sanders has a lot more better. He's more accurate, but they're kind of like the same player. They're just very good athletes that just, create things, and they're not really consistent, with the deep ball per se. But I think that's his best bet if he really wants to play. But just between us and whoever's listening, in my opinion, as a quarterback trainer, watching Jakari Brown, which again, he's a freak nature. Love the guy. I'm glad he's a hurricane. But if you're talking about being QB1, I just don't see it ever.
Yeah, it's those little nuances and stuff like that just aren't there in his game that are so vitally important, as you know.
Yeah. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I think Jake Garcia needs serious coaching, but he's got all the tools. I think, in my opinion, I was one of the guys that said they should have benched Tyler for Jake to get him more experience early on. I think that Jake, watching him, if you really watch his body, he is literally always in sync. He's always, always under base. My favorite throw of the year was in the not bowl game because we didn't make one, but the last game of the season or Clemson was when he threw that wheel route. I'll never forget it. I mean, he just sat there and dropped a dime and we dropped it. But I mean, just seeing his poise, I love what Jake Garcia brings. I just don't think that Josh Gaddis is the guy for that offense for him. If we brought in a guy like, obviously, like, runs the air raid like Mike Leach did, or even, the guy at USC, like if we had guys like that, I mean, Jake would flourish. He would look phenomenal, but we just don't. We have Gaddis, who came from Michigan, who lost to TCU, who just got blown out 65-7. That's who we have, and he's just not that guy for Miami to orchestrate speed. We need got something like Jeff Levy, who's at Tennessee. We need somebody like even some of the guys that even Lindsey, who's now at UNC, who never called plays. It was always Gus Malzahn, but someone who runs a high-tempoed offense that can orchestrate speed and space. That's what we need at Miami, and if you get that, Jake Garcia has enough tools in the bag to compete and make the offense scary, kind of like what Mackenzie Milton did at UCF, kind of like what Dylan Gabriel's doing at Oklahoma. He's that type of player where he can drop dimes and also hurt you with his legs, and I think that's also something Emory Williams has in his back pocket that's going to help him. And I think that Tyler Van Dyke, his Achilles heel is he can't run. So that work for Josh Gaddis' offense, but as we've seen, he runs the ball 90% in RPO, and there's no threat. He's handing the ball off every time. So it's just and that's for Ja'Cory Brown again. If you want to run Josh Gaddis' offense and you don't want to throw the ball but 6 times a game, okay, Ja'Cory Brown, you might have a shot because you're just that much better running the ball than everybody on the roster. But let's be honest, as a true quarterback, that's not what they're looking for. They want Tyler Van Dyke to be the guy. They want Jake Garcia to be the guy. They just don't have the right offensive coordinator to make that happen, or at least put them in a position to be successful. And I think that's really what they need to do. I'm telling you, I hope he's listening, but I really hope that they can get into OC that way, that our quarterbacks actually look like, what they're supposed to be.
Sounds good, man. Before y'all continue with the rest of the show, I got to head out, but Ross, I appreciate you as always for having me on co-hosting, and I'll see you all later.
All right, Luke, go Canes.
We'll catch you later, Luke. I'll see you next week, brother.
Yes, sir. Go Dolphins, man. I'll catch you.
All right.
Oh, sorry, man.
No, you're good.
So, Balin, I was kind of curious, since you've got a nice grasp, on the scene locally, a very nice grasp with the quarterback scene, of course. Who are some quarterbacks that we should be looking out for? Maybe some quarterbacks that aren't being named, or not getting the recognition they should get, but quarterbacks that you feel that deserve more attention.
You're talking about any class or what?
Well, 2024.
Okay, 2024. There's a kid right now that you're going to want to. I actually talked to Coach Ponce today about him. His name is Trevor Jackson from West Orange High School. If you guys are listening, take a look at him. I think that Miami's about to offer him. They're probably going to go watch him in the spring and offer him in the spring. He's got about 4 Division I offers right now. He's got Pittsburgh, Coastal Carolina, some people like that. So, or some teams like that at Georgia Tech. So you want to watch him. I mean, I've been training him since, about 3 years now. And Coach Ponce again hit me up today, and asked me about his opinion. He loved his film, was very impressed with this film. One of the best moments. You saw him? Oh, there we are. One of the best moments he had this year, he actually threw a 65-yard bomb to win a game. On his back foot, a Hail Mary off his back foot, 65 yards in the air. I mean, that's something that's freakish. And he's a true quarterback who's an athlete, and you might want to look him up. So again, his name is Trevor Jackson from West Orange High School. And again, Miami literally just texted me about him today. So you're going to want to look at him as well. The 2024 class, I trained Davie Belfort. So, he's one of the big names down south. The kid's a natural talent. He's one of the most fluid, mechanically sounded quarterbacks I've ever trained. If you watch him, he's always at base, always in sync. His arm is it's explosive, and it doesn't look like he's trying. Miami was high on the radar. Actually, Crystal Ball was one of his first offers when he was at Oregon. If you guys go on the social media page, you'll see they did the FaceTime call. They offered him. I think he was only in 8th grade at the time, too, so he was very young. They've obviously stayed in contact. When he got to Miami, he's close to Davie, so I know they've seen him a couple of times at the games when he was at Gulliver Prep. But unfortunately, Miami's kind of fallen off of his radar. They haven't really been recruiting him as hard, but the kid's special. You're going to want to look at him. He's going to be committing soon, probably February 6th. Obviously, I know the couple choices he has, but he does have a top 8 if you guys want to look into that. But yeah, that kid's special.
Do Do you feel like he's an SEC type of quarterback?
No.
No?
I don't think he's SEC. I think SEC, man, I'll be honest with you, you got to be 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". I think the only one that really broke that mold was Johnny Manziel, and that's because he was just that much faster than everybody on the field and did things that we'll probably never see ever happen ever in the SEC. But to be honest with you, to be really that guy in the SEC, if you're thinking about, your LSUs, your Texas A&Ms, your Georgias, even though Stetson Bennett's only like 5'10", but just look at their history of who they recruit, and who they start, now Oklahoma and Texas coming in, those guys, you're going to be about 6'3", 6'4", dual threat guys that can make things happen. And Davi can play in the SEC. I know he's got 2 schools in his top 8, Florida and Alabama, actually, and Tennessee in his top 8. And those 3 are going at him hard right now. So especially knowing that he's going to be committing soon. But do I think that he's an SEC quarterback? I mean, he could be successful, but I think that he might be going in a different conference, to be honest with you.
Going back to the quarterback you were speaking about, Trevor Jackson was his name, right?
Yeah, Trevor Jackson. Yep.
What's he coming in at as far as height and weight, you think?
Yeah, he's 6'3", 188 right now.
6'3", 188. Okay, so he's already got that going.
Yeah, and he runs like a 4.6, 4.5 40.
Oh man. So
yeah,
that's awfully nice there.
Yeah, that kid's he's different, man. Trevor Jackson, he's special.
And in terms of arm talent, what kind of arm talent upside does he offer that maybe a lot of other high school quarterbacks don't?
Just his accuracy with the deep ball. I think that's something like, again, anybody can throw the deep ball and chuck it up 50 balls. I mean, that's not impressive. That's why most coaches don't even look at quarterbacks who 90% of their touchdowns are go balls. I mean, anybody can do that. If you have a receiver that's just that much better, he's going to come down with it. But at the end of the day, if you can throw the deep ball accurately and vertically down the field and stretch defenses, maybe look things off on 4 verts and hitting seams on cover 3, stuff like that, and consistent and accurate, I think that's what's most impressive. And Trevor does that. If you watch his highlight film, you'll see that he really does throw the deep ball really well, very accurately with velocity. And that's something that, that's a Division I caliber type of throw. When you can make those things and not just chucking it up. And you can see when kids are just trying their hardest just to throw as far as they can and got 4 receivers out there just catching them. But if you can actually place deep balls where you want, like back shoulder throws, which he has, or even throwing off.
We lost you for a sec.
Sorry.
If
you could throw the deep ball 65 yards off your back foot falling backwards, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And winning the game, that's pretty dope. But yeah, that kid, he's just, again, one of the features that he has. Obviously, a lot of quarterbacks can run. A lot of quarterbacks can throw. A lot of quarterbacks have the height. But can you vertically throw the deep ball accurately and put spot throws on that, as well as can you throw from hash to the sideline to really showcase your ability to throw the ball from different angles with your arm strength. So he can do it all. The kid's special.
One thing for me with quarterbacks, and of course that it comes with time, we find out, as years go on, but a winner, the winning mindset, having that mindset ingrained, where it's not even a second thought. It's just, it is how they think naturally. That's always been a big deal to me as a quarterback, is that winning mentality. And it's something that I see broken far too often, honestly. I see kids who do amazing things in high school. A coach in college gets them and wants to just completely change who they are as a quarterback, and they break them. They absolutely break them. And it's just a shame to see. I hate seeing that. But
yeah, I'll give you one name. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you 2 names.
Yeah.
And they both were Hurricanes.
I'll go for it.
Ja'Cory Harris went 42-0 in high school. Look what happened to him. I mean, he was a bust, and I thought he was going to be a Heisman candidate. He was up for the Heisman his sophomore year after he beat Oklahoma, and then it just went completely south after that. Yep. Then Tate Martell. Tate Martell never lost a high school game as well, and look what happened to him. I mean, he went to 3 different programs and finally ended at UNLV, and he never even got a snap. I mean, you talk about guys that are true winners. Tate Martell was the number one quarterback in the country at one point. You know, he was getting reps in front of Joe Burrow, if you want to think about that. I mean, he still to this day has the highest completion percentage in college football. He went 10 for 10, I believe, at Ohio State, and they won the game. It'll never be broken. That's 100%. And he threw a touchdown and whatever. And I know they're playing, I don't know, they're playing a scrub, but it doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, he has a record at Ohio State, regardless if we like him or not. But he was doing that with Joe Burrow on the bench, you know, and look what Joe Burrow did, you know. So it's like, these guys were true winners in high school. Ja'Cory Harris never lost a high school game. I got to play against him in a state championship game my sophomore year. They beat us 41-0, but he made the game look so easy. And then he gets to Miami and just, again, they want to change everything. Randy Shannon, you know, I thought with Mark Whipple, that was going to be a great mend. Obviously did not work. It did for the first couple games. We had a lot of hype. And then it just kind of went down south, and we just lost the games that we shouldn't have. And I just feel like, again, the quarterback position at Miami has been underdeveloped. It's sad to see, because they used to call us quarterback U, and now, you know, we don't get those type of caliber. You know, that's why they made such a big deal about Jada Rashada. Oh my goodness, 5-star quarterback finally coming to Miami. Then nope, he goes to Florida. But like we put so much hype on these quarterbacks to come to Miami because we're not used to seeing that. But at one point they were coming. You know, it's just, again, winning brings successful players to a program, and you got to start winning games, and you got to start giving kids the excitement of wanting to be a part of it. And to be honest with you right now, there's nobody that wants to be a part of Josh Gaddis's offense. There's nobody. And that's just the facts. I don't know what else to say. I know I'm pretty sure 90% of Cane fans agree to this. You know, you got your old heads that probably love seeing the ball run every day, and they're just going to blame the offensive line. But at the end of the day, there's no excuse. Your head coaches, that's what he specializes in. Those guys should know exactly every blocking scheme. So there should be holes every play, but we just don't hit them. It's just not geared towards our athletes. What we are designed to do with speed. But at the end of the day, you know, that's just my opinion.
I'm trying to remember. There was another quarterback that we had who was a 5-star that came over from the West Coast.
Yep. Oh, Kyle Wright bust.
Kyle Wright. Yep. Another one of them, man. I mean, guy who.
You know what? But you know what? Kyle Wright kept us in the top 10 every single year. So.
Yeah, he did keep us playing. At least he was actually getting playing time.
I mean, he had, and then there was games where he looked phenomenal. I mean, like I'll never forget the Virginia Tech game when we were like 14-point underdogs. We went into Blacksburg and destroyed them. It was like 5 versus 3 in the country on a Saturday night, and you know, Kyle Wright played one of his best games ever. And then again, he'd go against Virginia and flop. You know, it just doesn't make sense. But yeah, Kyle Wright was the number 1 quarterback in the country when we got him, and yeah, he would be considered a bust, but at the end of the day, we were top 10 every single year, going maybe like 10-2, 9-3. I mean, at the end of the day, I wish we could go back to those days, you know, and I wish we're like Alabama, where we're like, oh, a down year is 10-2. I mean, that's what Miami's standard used to be like, and unfortunately, now we're just hoping for 6-6 in a bowl game at this point. So it's sad, but yeah, the quarterback position. I mean, we're going guys like, you know, who's the guy? Williams, you know.
Ryan Williams?
No, not Ryan. Him too. I mean, he's a great coach, but his playing career was kind of weird. But no, we go after who was the guy who was our starter a couple years ago? Williams.
Jaron
Williams. Like, I mean, what are we? You know, it's just look at our starting quarterbacks. I mean, even Stephen Morris. You know, he did some special things. He wasn't really a highly recruited guy. Then you have Malik. Rozier. I mean, he's probably arguably one of the winningest quarterbacks, and yet he was considered more of a baseball guy. So, yeah. I mean, it's just, where have we gone with our recruiting at that position? It's just it's shocking to me, especially when you're at the U, you know, and you can't convince me, if you can take a kid like Jordan Travis and turn him into a legit quarterback, why we can't do some similar, you know, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me.
Seriously, I'm glad you brought that up, because I watched that transformation. We all saw what Jordan Travis was, not this last year, but the year before. He was an athlete trying to be a quarterback, just like you said about Ja'Cory. So, I mean, it makes total sense that it can be done. It is fully possible. You just have to have the proper quarterback training. And, you know, I really hate saying this, but there's always been a little bit of a bad vibe about how Mario Cristobal and quarterbacks in his system don't always flourish as much as they should. You know, a lot of people use the Justin Herbert example, you know, when he gets to the Chargers and just blows up and is able to make throws and is making throws that they weren't even letting him try at Oregon. So I really hope that, we're getting past that point a little bit and we're learning from that. That's all we can ask for, honestly. But what I wanted to ask you here before I let you go, we'll get the show over here soon. You talk about Gaddis. I'm not a big Gaddis fan either. Realistically, and like I always like to use the term realistically, who is your dream OC for the University of Miami?
I got 3 guys.
Okay.
3. And he should have been our head coach, Lane Kiffin.
Okay.
Imagine Jake Garcia with Lane Kiffin. That would have been scary. He's just like a Matt Corral. He's got the same. He's actually bigger than Matt Corral. Yeah. Matt Corral's like 6 foot. Jake's like 6'3". But I mean,
gunslinger.
I couldn't even imagine what we would look like if we had an offense like that with a high tempo and what he even did with Jackson Dart. I mean, he was all right, and now he looks like he's going to be somebody. So, I mean, man, that would have been the dream scenario, is if Lane Kiffin, with his swag, with his controversial tweets, coming to South Beach would have been insane. I think I said the last time we were on the podcast. I mean, I will forever never forget the fact that we almost had a shot at him twice. But this one was a little bit more, I thought, was more hand in the bag, and just completely went a whole different direction with Mario. But that would have been my dream one. Honestly, there's a guy right now that's available that could come into Miami that I have heard that through the grapevine that there is talks about it, but there's nothing obviously set in stone. But Scott Frost. Oh. I think Scott Frost, with his offense that he did at UCF, if he can showcase the speed and run that tempo, which does not work in Nebraska. They're in the Big Ten. Those guys are big and corn-fed. They're not trying to have a hurry-up offense, which is why he never had success. He cannot get the Florida talent that he was trying to do at UCF. With UCF, it worked perfectly. It was a perfect mend. I believe he takes that same offense and comes down to South Beach with Miami and the way they can recruit. Scott Frost would be offensive coordinator of the year, coach of the year, everything of the year. He's probably going to get offered from head coaching jobs, but hopefully he doesn't take them, obviously. But I just think that would be the perfect mend for what we have skill-wise at the University of Miami. And again, you just imagine Jake Garcia or even Emory Williams in a offense like Scott Frost. I mean, that would be scary because those guys can run and they throw the ball vertically and make bubbles, all that, and just put athletes in space. That's all UCF did, and they won a lot of games. So I think that would be a dream one. And then the last one, other than myself, because I would say myself being the offensive coordinator. No, just kidding. I do wish that we never got rid of Rhett Lashley. That was a really good, and again, Cane fans were bashing him his first year, and oh my gosh, what happened to this offense? Every week he was showcasing a little bit more and more until we got to Florida State, then just kind of just deaded out. Right, everybody's so excited, but if you watched the second year and how fluid it was with Derek King at quarterback, it was fun. I mean, regardless if we lost games, I mean, those were shootouts. So we're scoring 38 points a game guaranteed. So we knew every game we had a legit shot at winning it. And when you hang 52 points on Florida State, I don't care what year it is, I mean, you're rolling. And so I loved Rhett Lashley offense, and we see why 3 Canes end up going to the portal, going right to him, because they know they fit that scheme. And I just think that he was the perfect hire at the time. If we would just gave him a couple more years, I think it would have been scary if he would have just stayed at Miami. But obviously, everybody wants to be head coach. He took the opportunity at SMU. But man, it was starting to roll, and I just wish, I love his high tempo. I mean, think about it. He was a high tempoed offensive spread guy. I mean, he was putting our athletes in space. He made guys like Mark Pope and look like they were freaks, and now those guys can't even be on the roster spots anywhere. So, he definitely was the guy. And again, I would go Lane Kiffin, Scott Frost, and Rhett Lashley if he can ever come back. But if Rhett Lashley ever comes back to Miami, it'd probably be as a head coach, because I don't see him taking a coordinating position anymore. He just reached his ultimate goal anyway. So,
especially if he finds success at SMU, if he finds success there, he's going to want to bump up. There's a name that is intriguing to me, and I highly doubt it would ever happen. And I'd have to have him learn how to run the ball a little more. But Cliff Kingsbury, his offense, that would be a whole lot of fun just to watch, bro. I mean, I'm just saying. I think that would be a lot of fun to watch. I don't know if it's going to bring Miami a title, but, man, I think that'd be a lot of fun to watch every week, bro.
Yeah, and I would even say Jeff Lebby. And that's another one. He was at UCF, same thing. They ran that spread offense, and just didn't lose a beat when Scott Frost left. It was like, man, like this guy comes in, he runs almost the same thing. Then he goes to Ole Miss. He learned under Lane Kiffin, and I mean Matt Corral. They were just doing great things offensively. That's what we need, man. And if they're able to have that, just think about this. They had that much success in the SEC. Imagine coming to the ACC, who's not really known for defense. I mean, we would be putting up 50 points a game easy, just like they were doing in their conference with UCF. But at the end of the day, we want to go for these Big Ten guys because we think that, you won Coach of the Year, you deserve an offense, OC position in the ACC. Well, you forget that there's speed in the ACC. That's all we got. So you're going to get caught. You're trying to run big boy football, with smaller guys that are trying to run track in the offseason. So it just doesn't work. I mean, he should have went to Nebraska. That would have been a better fit for Gaddis. That would have been perfect fit. Yeah. He comes to Miami. You're in South Beach where it's hot 90% of the year. Those guys are on the track at the beach running, doing all that. They're not sitting at home in cold weather eating corn. They're not doing that. And that's what Gaddis is good at. And he should have stayed his butt at Michigan if he really wanted to. But, even Michigan opened it up this year, and look where they got. I mean, it was so much better to watch Michigan this year. It was more fun to watch as a fan than it was when Gaddis was there. Gaddis was just old school, man. And knowing Harbaugh, how much he's a, quarterback guy, it was really, it was hard to watch last year, even though they went all the way to the, playoffs and got blown out. But, he won Coach of the Year, and then all of a sudden he lands at Miami. So it's not a good piece for us, man. We got to figure it out. I don't know if they're going to make the move. I've heard, both sides of the coin. But I'm telling you, man, Scott Frost is out there literally doing absolutely nothing on nobody's radar. I think that would be a crucial – I know he did put in the hat for the USF job, didn't get it. But I'm saying, man, if he's out there and wanting to be a coordinator, man, I'm telling you, I would make the move and make it fast. And that would be exciting to watch that high-tempoed offense with the speed that we have on our roster.
There's something I wanted to bring up about Gaddis, and it was – spoken about in the media when they lost their biggest deep threat in the pass game. They kind of shortened things up more, and it actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise for Michigan because that's the type of offense that you can run in Michigan and win. You can run that close offense, bundled up, jumped up offense. I mean, you don't have to depend on speed like the ACC.
All right.
So when he lost that deep threat, he really turned back into himself and turned more into a conservative play caller, which happened to work, but that won't work at Miami. It simply won't work at Miami. Conservative play calling is going to ruin the development of our quarterbacks. Absolutely, and we've seen it too often, dude.
Yeah, if you notice, all ACC games are track meets.
They are.
They're track meets, and if you keep up, you're going to get blown out, and that's what happened to us. We're trying to control the pace. Hello? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying we try to control the pace of the game, and
I think you're having
sorry. No, I'm saying we're trying to control the pace of the game every game, and we find ourselves in a blowout. So it doesn't work in the ACC. It does not. It does not. No, you won't convince me. Every score, you will look at Wake Forest, their tempo. Look at Florida State, their tempo. Look at Clemson, their tempo. Look at North Carolina, their tempo. Look at now Virginia, their tempo. Virginia Tech, look at their tempo. Like NC State, look at their tempo. I mean, look at everybody's tempo, even Georgia Tech to an extent now that since they run the spread. I mean, everybody has a high-tempoed offense, and yet we're sitting here in huddle trying to control the clock. At the University of Miami, when we have 4.4 speed everywhere, even our offensive line running 4.9s because they're in shape, and here we are trying to run big boy football like we're in Michigan or in Nebraska, and it's just not going to work. 3 and outs. Guess what? Touchdown. We find ourselves 21-0 first quarter because it's a track meet, and now it's like with our offense, we're not going to be catching up no time soon. So. Yeah, we got big major changes. Gaddis has got to do major coaching changes within himself. You got to go to multiple coaching clinics for spread offenses. You might need to call Rhett Lashley or Scott Frost and be like, yo, can you help me out? Because my job's on the line. I'm about to lose all this millions of dollars if we're going to put on another 5-7 season next year, and it's going to be embarrassing. And you probably won't find yourself in any job for a long time.
What pissed me off more than anything else is when we're down 21-0 and we're still running the same offense, dude.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's mind blowing. All he has to do is go get the film from Lashley the year before and go, hey, I'm going to implement this with TVD because this worked with TVD at the time. Why not try something that actually worked?
That's what I'm saying. The dude had 8 straight games of 300 yards. I mean, come on. And then his first 3 games were under 200, 150 yards. I mean,
yeah.
Stupid.
That just shows how important coaching truly is, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Tyler Van Dyke went from NFL prospect, Heisman talk to probably one of the worst statistically quarterbacks ever to play Division I Power 5 football. Like, to the point where he was getting booed and trying to get benched by a redshirt freshman.
We went and depended on Jakari to come out there completely unready, not even close to ready to play, and that's what we had to settle on because of it. And we can thank our OC for that.
And on top of that, we probably heard Jake Garcia's confidence. So I wonder how he was thinking sometimes. Am I this bad? Can I not play at this level? You just never know what these kids are thinking.
How long can you damage a quarterback's psyche until it's permanently damaged? We've seen it happen just overnight almost in certain circumstances that some of these guys have fragile mindsets. I don't think Garcia is necessarily a fragile mindset.
Yeah.
He's a gunslinger who wants PT.
Yeah.
He wants a chance to prove, and he wants to get in the right offense. So, dude, if we don't get this thing going right, dude.
But something tells me there has to be something in the works, whether it's Gaddis changing or something, because the fact that Tyler Van Dyke and Jake Garcia decided to come back, that was kind of an indicator that, okay, maybe something good's going to come out of this, because I thought for sure both those guys, I thought Taylor Van Dyke was going to transfer to SMU to be with Rhett Lashley, and I thought Jake Garcia was going to go out and probably go to USC and probably back up Caleb Williams for a year and be the guy. But now that they both said they want to come back, that was kind of like, whoa, what happened here? So something definitely is in the works that we probably haven't seen yet, or we might not see until spring, or there might be a coaching move that's kind of under the radar right now that we don't know about. So that's exciting for Canes fans, because that should give us some excitement knowing both those guys want to come back. Because of the way that this season looked, it looked like, why would you ever even consider that? But man, that's a good indicator. So I'm excited to see why they came back, maybe even understand, what the thought process was there, because now Tyler Van Dyke's future's on the line, and he's got one more shot at this. And so the fact that he's going to turn down a guy like Rhett Lashley, who he pretty much dominated college football with his arm, with that offense. I mean, he had that opportunity to literally walk into that program with those 3 other guys that went. And it sucks to see Rooster go too, but we definitely didn't handle that situation well. Rooster, if you want to be a featured back, that kid should be getting way more carries. But that's just my opinion. They want that tough-nosed, old-school football player like Parrish, who's a phenomenal athlete, but he's not a featured back. I don't think he's the guy that needs to get the ball every single play like he was. He's not going to break a 90-yarder like Rooster would do. But Rooster, his problem was he just couldn't take care of the football. But, it was just – it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's sad to see him especially. I think that was one that hurt me the most, watching him leave, because he was explosive. He reminded me a little bit like Devin Hester. Like, just you can really put him in a spot play him, and he can make dynamic plays with his feet just because he's just that much faster, again, than everybody on the field. But I'm excited to see what he does in that conference. I mean, that's a weak conference with SMU. I think they're going to light it up. And then just imagine if Tyler Van Dyke would have went. But again, for the fans listening, for you, the fact that, again, Tyler Van Dyke and Jake Garcia said, hey, we're going to be a Cane next year, especially after what we saw, there's something in the works that we don't see. So I'm excited.
Let's just hope that whatever they're telling them, the actions actually match the words.
There you go, too, because you can say anything you want to keep a player, right? But
that happens often.
When that game one hits, you're stuck. So what they're going to do what they're going to do, but I'm hoping that we do see a little bit of this. If there's going to be a change, you're going to see in spring. They got to implement it at some point to see live reps. So if we're going to see something that changes, it's going to be in the spring. I'm not gonna lie. Did you go to the spring game?
No, I wasn't. No.
Okay. Well, did you watch it?
I didn't. I got a chance to watch some clips. I didn't get to see all of it. No.
So I knew after watching the spring game that there was just something off. I just didn't know. I thought they were maybe trying to hide because the whole world was watching crystal ball, and I was wondering maybe they're not showing too much. No, that exact offense that we saw in the spring was the exact offense we saw all year. So if they're going to make a change, we're going to see it in the spring game, and I'm excited to see maybe we do go up tempo, maybe we do go full spread. He did do that one game. Gaddis, I'll give Gaddis props. It was game 2, I believe. there was a game where he threw North Carolina, where we literally threw the ball almost every play, and Tyler Van Dyke almost threw 500 yards. I mean, that's who Tyler Van Dyke is. Why do we go away from it? I don't know, but next thing you know, next week he gets hurt because you want to run the RPO, and he just has no business out there getting hit every play trying to hand the ball off and be a decoy. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. So I think the next game was our flop, the worst loss in our program history. But yeah, man, I just don't get it, man. I don't understand it because Texas A&M was second, and then UNC was third, and then we had the flop against our easiest opponent, Middle Tennessee. But yeah, man, they got those 500 yards against UNC. We almost win that game, and then we lose by 30. So I don't understand it, but we went away from it, and it is what it is. And that whole year, we saw the same offense. So sad, man. It's very sad.
Ups and downs, dude. When you have no consistency, you don't have a chance for success. It's just not possible in the game of football. It just isn't. I mean, you can't get lucky enough to be in the upper echelon of success. Luck doesn't happen that often in football. You got to be actually in the right place at the right time and actually know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
Valen, man, I truly appreciate you taking this time to come on the show again, dude. I love having you on here because you always you don't hold anything back, bro.
Nah.
That's why I like having you on here, man. You tell it straight from the heart, bro. So I truly appreciate you coming on and speaking your mind and not trying to filter it, like letting it be known what you really see, because you are really training quarterbacks. You're really out there with these guys. So getting that input is valuable for our fan base. I truly believe it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Again, I love talking Canes football. I am a Cane at heart, even though I do support all schools because I want all kids that I train get opportunities. But Canes, they run deep in my family. I mean, even my son, his middle name is Kane. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, I'm hoping one day he's going to be a Cane. That's hopefully the plan. So, but yeah, man, anytime you guys want me on here, man, I love talking ball. And again, I'm going to shoot it straight. I don't care what people's opinions are. I'm going to give you mine because I see the facts. And if you don't like it, so be it. So at least you know how I feel. That's all that matters. And at the end of the day, we all want the Canes to be back, So I know we all have the right mentality, right heart, whether we like Gaddis, we don't like Gaddis, whether we want to see change or not. At the end of the day, we all want to see Miami be great again. So, I love doing these things, love doing podcasts, and look forward to being on the next one.
Awesome, man. And that's how we're going to close this show out. Canes fans, thank you for joining us on the Croot on the U. Sponsored, well, can't say sponsored. I guess you could technically just say brought to you by The Scoop on the U. So thank you guys once again for joining us. Fantastic show tonight. Tons of great information. If you missed anything earlier, there was an interview we had with the 2024 wide receiver, very high upside. This will be on YouTube immediately after I hit the end broadcast button. So go back and check that, guys. But Canes fans, thanks for the support. And Balin, once again, thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
No doubt, man. And guys, those are watching, go Dolphins. We got a big one this week, man. Let's beat those Bills.
I'm a Seahawks fan, bro. So I'm in the playoffs right there with you guys. Let's
go.
go.
Let's go, baby. Our season didn't end like the Hurricanes, unfortunately.
I know, right? Yeah. All right, Balin. We'll talk soon, brother.
All right, man. Take care. God bless, guys.